Joining us now to break down this Chargers-Bills game on Sunday is NFL Network and color commentator for the Chargers Radio Network, one Daniel Jeremiah joining us. Daniel, how you doing? How are you and the family making your way through the pandemic? You guys all well?
Yeah, we're doing great. Thanks for asking, Chris. I need to get one of those T-shirts though, man. That is a sweet
Yeah,
T-shirt.
we are nothing but pawns in the marketing machine that is the Bills fan box package. This is the latest edition from Dion Dawkins called Feast Mode in honor of Thanksgiving.
Strong.
So. Yes,
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get one out to you.
I tell you, I feel for you. You're the analyst for the radio broadcast of the Chargers. You've seen every throw that Justin Herbert has made. I'm doing the games for Buffalo. You're not going to travel here to Orchard Park though this weekend for the game. You're going to do it from L.A. I mean, tell us a little bit about Justin Herbert. What's been the vibe like since he took over and has just, exploded onto the scene?
Well, I mean, Steve, I don't think anybody anticipated, that he would be on the field as early as he was. It was a very unique situation there with what happened with Tyrod Taylor. But once he got out there, I mean, from having no preparation that first game against Kansas City, and he was phenomenal. And you thought, okay, well, maybe this is an instance of he didn't have time to be nervous, and we'll see can he string another one together once teams had a chance to look at him, game plan him. And he just keeps showing up each and every week, and the mistakes he's minimizing, and you're seeing these throws like the one to Keenan Allen in the back of the end zone. Every week you're seeing a handful of plays where you're like, okay, these are top 5 quarterback type plays. Not all that dissimilar from what you guys have seen from Josh Allen with some of the throws he can make. I mean, these are two of the bigger, stronger quarterbacks in the NFL with tremendous athleticism. So he's exceeded my expectations. I believe he's exceeded just about everybody's expectations of what he's been able to do.
And what about the job of coordinator Shane Steichen and quarterbacks coach Pep Hamilton? I mean, these are two guys, that just got together in this offseason after Steichen got the job permanently, and then they brought Pep on to kind of take Steichen's old job. What has been their MO with Justin? Have they really not been shy about, throwing as much as they can on his plate? Because I mean, it really looks like he's running the show. This is not a guy managing a game in any way, shape, or form. He is leading it.
Yeah, and it's a little bit different than what we see from the college quarterbacks making their, that leap to the NFL. We feel like we've seen a lot of these like redshirt sophomores or true juniors that are, coming into the league. This kid started for 4 years. He went through the whole process, played in the Senior Bowl, had that experience as well. I thought mechanically, fundamentally, he was in pretty good shape coming into the league. What he needed was somebody to kind of inspire a little more of an attacking mentality, because at Oregon they had a great run game, great defense, played very conservatively. And I give Shane and Pep a lot of credit for not just what they've done with him and getting him to understand the offense. He's a 4.0 student. He's brilliant. That was going to come no matter who was coaching. He was going to pick it up. But the mentality switch that they've had with him of just being attacking, they'll have 2 or 3 shot plays in every game plan, and I feel like he's hit about 70% of those down the field. But it's a different mindset that he's playing with than he was at Oregon.
Well, when people look at the Chargers' record, I mean, they've lost so many close games, and we had Tom Telesco on. It's hard to put your finger on. It's not like a magic wand or just one problem. It's something different every week, and now Anthony Lynn is adjusting his coaching staff on the special team side of things. What else or what other things might they do to try and get on the other side of the coin for these what seem to be coin flip games?
Yeah, I mean, it's Steve, just inability to finish has been the biggest thing. It's well documented the leads they've had in a lot of these ball games haven't been able to close it out. And usually you close out games, as you guys both know, you close out games with your run game and your pass rush, and they haven't been able to really do that. And I think you can look at injuries. You can look at Bosa missing a couple games here recently until he just came back. Look at Austin Eckler's injury. Those are, big pieces there. But you've seen over the last couple weeks, in order to try and get the pass rush, now you're starting to see him blitz a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive, which can leave you a little bit naked in the back end. So it's a give and take when you're not getting the rush that you'd like to get. So I think Bosa being back healthy, another week getting his legs underneath him, I think the hope is that you'll see that pass rush start to tick up a little bit.
We didn't get a chance to ask Tom this question, and I don't know that we would have got a straight answer out of him anyway. But with respect to how the draft unfolded this past spring, he obviously knew that Cincinnati and Miami, who were ahead of him, were certainly in the market for quarterbacks. I'm I can't imagine how agonizing it is to hold your water there at 6 when there's a very real possibility that some team behind you may leapfrog up to 4 or to 3 to grab one of those guys that you like enough that you were fully intending to take at 6. Have you ever had the opportunity to have that conversation with Tom? And if so, what did he at least give you in terms of his thought processes, that night?
Well, I think Tom's probably more likely to tell me where he keeps the Heide key for his house than he would be to tell me how he had those quarterbacks stacked up. But as somebody who's covered the draft and been involved in the draft for a long time, the fact that he was patient there speaks volumes and says he was comfortable with those 3 quarterbacks. We'll never know the order in which he had them, but it sounded like to me the Chargers as an organization were going to be comfortable with any of those 3 guys. And look, Burrow was awesome. He's played great. Unfortunately, before he just got injured. Tua has been a little bit up and down. That's another conversation for another day with what they did on Sunday and pulling him out of that game. But Herbert has clearly been the best one. So It all worked out great for him. The patience paid off. They ended up getting the best guy. And I didn't see that way coming into the draft process, but I don't know how you can argue after watching what he's done that he's been the best of the bunch.
Yeah, he's getting a little bit of help from Keenan Allen, who leads the league with receptions and yards, and the Bills with Steph Diggs. Both these clubs come in with a large percentage of their passing game going through that one guy. Certainly the Bills have spread it around a little bit. But what have teams done to Justin Herbert to try and limit how often he can go to Keenan Allen?
Well, the Dolphins did a good job of it, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it, which is you saw them, they run a lot of that amoeba defense where they're milling around and you don't know if they're going to bring 4, 5, or 6, but then they were dropping off and trying to bracket him inside out and try and take away Keenan Allen, at least on third downs. That seemed to be their philosophy because on third downs, there's been nobody better. He's just so good at uncovering. So I think you start to see that. The last week was kind of a weird one because the Jets have so many young players back there. They tried to play a little bit of man early. That did not work out. So then they just played zone. And then that's the thing. When you've got Keenan Allen, not always, and it's the same with Diggs. When you watch him, you see the same things. They can uncover off the line of scrimmage. They can beat you at the top of the route. And if you want to play zone, they're so good with their awareness and just their feel to be able to give their numbers to the quarterback and give you some nice, easy throws. And the Jets decided to play a lot of zone last week, and he caught 16 balls.
Yeah.
Right.
Have fun with that. Austin Eckler is going to practice. We learned that today. I'm guessing he's not a sure thing for Sunday, and even if he does play, probably doesn't have a full workload. But that is a dynamic a major dynamic that you're adding to your backfield. How much does that force defenses to change their approach with this rookie quarterback if Eckler's on the field?
Well, I think it helps in a big way. And I think, some of the opportunities that they've had over the last few weeks because of their vertical passing game, you've seen it with, they're not household names, but Jerron Johnson's been able to get deep. He's a 4-3 guy. You look at Jalen Guyton's another 4-3 guy. They're able to sprinkle those guys in down the field to stretch it out a little bit. Mike Williams can go down the field as well. So when you start to expand that defense, there's been opportunities on some draws and just dumping the ball off underneath with a lot of real estate. And those are the types of plays where you've seen Austin Eckler do what you're watching right now on the screen, which is turn those into big gainers because he's a space player. And this offense, as it's throwing the ball as well as they have, has created a lot of space underneath that I think you could see Austin Eckler if he's out there and if he's healthy. I would imagine even if he is, it'd be a little bit limited in terms of the touches. But he makes a lot. He makes a lot out of it when you can give him that type of space underneath.
Chargers have been in a lot of close games. They've faced some teams that really felt like they needed to score to get back in it. The Denver game comes to mind off the top of my head. But why is it that their defense, is ranked 28th in the league at taking the ball away? They get notes. They don't get interceptions. They don't get turnovers. Why is that?
Well, some of it is a little bit philosophically. I mean, this is that cover 3 defense, or they want to try and limit exposure to big plays, keep the ball in front of you, rally and tackle. So there's a little bit of a conservative approach there. They haven't been traditionally a heavy blitz team. Although we mentioned a little earlier, they have done more of that the last couple of weeks. But to me, the turnovers come when you're heating up the quarterback, and that has been really kind of the biggest issue is finding some type of interior pass rush to complement what Bosa gives you. And Melvin Ingram, as we hear, week 12 didn't have a sack. So that to me has been a major problem. Chenna Nwosu's he's got a lot of ability and a lot of tools and has really flashed, but he got hurt last week against the Jets. So I think that, Steve, to answer your question, I just think without the pressure, you're not getting the turnovers. It kind of feeds into the other.
So what is maybe been the strength of this defense? I mean, obviously they lost Derwin James, which is arguably their best playmaker in the back seven. He's lost for the year, and they've had to move on without him. You've already mentioned how the pass rush has been lacking for a number of different reasons. So who has kind of stepped up and been the linchpin of this defense to at least hold things together?
Well, when he's been out there, I think Bosa is as good as it gets, and that's just not only as a pass rusher, but really as an overall player. His ability at the point of attack on the front side as a run defender is as good as it is in the league as an edge setter. He's phenomenal. His effort is great from the back end. He brings a lot of energy. There's no doubt about it. They miss Derwin James and have missed him tremendously because that energy and playmaking ability that Bosa brings you at the front level, Derwin James can bring that to you at the third level of the defense. So they haven't really had an answer for that. You've seen Kenneth Murray. He's got a lot of speed as a rookie, but he's still learning. I still think he's got a little ways to go before he can be that type of an impact player. But to kind of answer your question, that's the reason why the record is where it is, because I can't give you more names of guys that have been impact players on the defensive side of the ball.
I want to circle back to one last question. As this season rolled out, you guys, the Chargers, walked onto the field opening day with Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback. And I think as you look back and you see how this has transpired, how did that happen? He played one game, and then, through a fluke, medical accident, he ended up not starting against the Chiefs. What was keeping Anthony Lynn from starting Justin Herbert day one?
Well, I think that a lot of it has, as you guys are familiar with, his relationship with Tyrod and having had success with him in the past and feeling like this team over the last couple of years, turnovers had been the bugaboo. So Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn the ball over. So you're thinking if you're going to have a healthy defense and you're going to have a healthy Derwin James, a healthy Drew Tranquill, a healthy Chris Harris all year long, you feel like, okay, we can be a defensive team. We've invested in the offensive line with Austin Eckler. We feel like we can run the ball. The formula to win games is don't turn the ball over. And so that's what made sense there with Tyrod. But as soon as he went down, and then you saw not only the ability of Justin Herbert, but that formula had to change because it just been too many injuries on defense, and they just weren't as good as they needed to be.
Last one from me, DJ, and I know I've talked to you before about the tandem of Poyer and Hyde in the secondary for the Bills. Yeah. This defense has not been as stout as it has been the previous two seasons, but those two guys are still good at spinning the dial and crossing up quarterbacks, especially young ones. Has Herbert seen a tandem like this who can kind of disguise as well as these guys do as a tandem thus far this season?
I don't think so at the safety position. Again, the Dolphins are the one team that's given him trouble, and that was because of a lot of the things they did at the front. They're milling around. I just called that amoeba defense, where he didn't know where they were coming from, and then they were changing up the coverage behind that. So you're trying to identify mics and trying to identify protections, and then all of a sudden you assume you're getting one coverage, and that post-snap they could switch up the look. But in terms of the safety position, I think this is as good as it gets in terms of not only the playmakers that you have there with those two, but just their intelligence and their ability to disguise. So I'm with you. That's going to be a big challenge. I do want to get your guys' take here real quick before we leave. Can we get your thoughts here on this App State helmet that they sent me here? I mean, is that thing not beautiful?
What do you think though about the white? Because I know it's been black helmets for as long as I can remember, right?
Yeah. So I've got when they sent me this, I went and found my old one. So this was
that.
When I was
that's
there.
Kind of the more iconic look.
That's pretty good. I like
they went really off. They went off the page there.
Yeah, I like the white. I got to say, I like the new ones. They look good.
It's a clean look.
I want to ask you your opinion about some of the other quarterbacks. You've seen the Tua Tagovailoa, and you've watched Taysom Hill down in New Orleans. Kind of a weird dynamic in New Orleans with Taysom Hill and how they're going to use him. But what do you think about Tua and how that went last week? Or
I did
2
not
weeks
agree
ago?
with. I did not agree. He didn't play great, but the rest of the offense didn't play good. I mean, you look at the offensive line; there were clean beats up front. They struggled. You had some drop balls. He missed four or five throws that you can't miss. But Steve, I didn't think he was jamming the ball in and trying to and playing recklessly to the point where you're like, man, this is just he's not seeing the field. He just missed some throws. So I didn't agree with it. I think when you got a young quarterback who's struggling, let him work through it. You made this move, not just for the short term, but for the long term. Let him experience some of this adversity and fight his way through it. I did not like the move to pull him out of that game.
And we got one of your App State kids up here. He's on the practice squad, Josh Thomas, the safety, who I know played strong and free each of his last couple of years. I think he's a guy that's going to learn under two pretty smart veterans. It's going to be interesting to see where his career goes here over the next year or so.
That's a good place to learn. That's for sure. No doubt. He's in a good spot. So we're everywhere, man. App State, we know we're not having a great year this year, but that's okay. We'll be back.
Yeah. I love that Akeem Davis Gaither that came out this past. I mean, that kid can run and hit.
He can run.
He is something. I was mad Bills didn't get a shot at him. He went early, day 3. I thought he was going to go even higher. But
what's the perception out in the L.A. about Buffalo? What are they thinking?
You know what's funny is I've in living out here my whole life, you never really hear people talk about the Buffalo Bills. This year, I almost feel like they're one of the adopted teams. So you have people in LA. It's a melting pot. People from all over the place. But I've been asked more questions on LA talk shows this year about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills than I have if you combine the previous 10 years, added them all up together. It wouldn't add the total of what we've seen this year because they're fun. They're fun to watch. Josh is fun to watch. So it's they're getting a lot more exposure, a lot more fun out here focusing on the Bills.
Yeah.
Daniel, thanks for the time. We appreciate it as always. Good luck calling this one off a monitor on Sunday, all right?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully we can keep in track of the Red Hat. We have missed a couple plays this year going to commercial, not realizing
As have we. We've missed them too. I know exactly what you mean, man. Thanks
for the time. We appreciate
it.
Take care,
man.
See you, boys. Take care.
All right,
Bye.
that's Daniel Jeremiah from both the NFL Network and the Chargers Radio Network.